Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we bring you issue 28 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal magazine today. And this issue we got a trio of Spirit Hosts for the Nighthaunt. And if you want to see those in a game, you can skip straight to the time code in the description. We're having a quick look at our issue now. First up, we'll obviously have some backstory on the Spirit Hosts. Basically, they're sort of roiling mass of spite and hate made up of ghosts who have long since lost their individuality, and they sort of combine together, and during battles, they kind of weave in amongst all the other Nighthaunt and catch people by surprise and kill them that way, even though they are individually very weak. And it also mentions here that they often accompany Lord Executioners into battle. Next up we have some background on the extremist chambers of the Stormcast Eternals, and it mentions here Sigmar's alliance with Dracothian the Great Drake, who allows the Stormcast to ride his children, the Dracoths and the Stardrakes, and the extremist chambers constitute the main cavalry forces of the Stormcast Eternals. The Lord Celestants can ride Stardrakes, and they have this Drake-sworn Templar, the sort of elite Drake riders. And we have Tempestors and Fulminators. Tempestors are armed with crossbows, the Fulminators are armed with glaives, and we have Desolators and Concussors who are armed with great axes and hammers respectively. And we have our build guide on the Spirit Hosts. These are basically entirely made out of spooky ghost parts, so you do need to be a bit careful taking them off the sprue, and then you need to sort of try and decipher these arcane glyphs to try and figure out where the heck each bit goes, and very carefully glue them together. Luckily they do look quite good when they are together. I quite like these models personally, even if they were a bit of a pain. And you get some nice base decorations as well to go and just to break up the empty space. And then the painting guide is very simple. You undercoat them white, and then you paint them with Nighthaunt oxide and then dry brush them white. And there you go, that's it for them. But we have some new paints we got recently, so we need to add them to all our other Nighthaunt stuff. So first we're going to add some Mephiston red to go over all the flowers and the Dreadscythe Harridans and the Briar Queen. And recently we also got Rakov Flesh, and this needs to go over all the bones. So it's basically all of the models you've got so far will need this, have bone on them somewhere, but also things like ropes and the drum skin if you built the drummer for the Glaive Wraith Stalkers. And we're also adding some Balthazar gold, mainly to sort of break up some of the silver areas on the armour, and also decorative elements like a candelabra, sword hilts, bells. There's a crown here on the Knight of Shrouds, and going over some of the stud work for the Lord Executioner and the Grimghast Reapers. And finally, just doing a few more blue details for the hourglasses on the Knight of Shrouds and some of the Banshees there. And then we just need to go and shade over all of the red and bone and gold bits that we painted. It's going to take quite a while to do all the bone bits, but it is going to add a lot more detail to these models. They do start looking quite good. Well, with that over, we're going to get straight into the game.
So here we are on to our battle plan, and we've got a war scroll for our new Spirit Hosts. As you can see, they have 3 wounds each with 6-inch move, 4+ save, and bravery 10. They're ethereal like all Nighthaunt things, and they can fly. They have 6 attacks each, which only hit on 5s and wound on 4s with 1 damage and no rend. But thanks to their frightful touch, if they roll an unmodified 6 to hit, then they do a mortal wound instead, and the attack sequence ends. So they can be quite good against heavily armoured targets by inflicting a lot of mortal wounds if they roll well enough. That's really all there is to them. And Overleaf is just a quick explanation of all those things. And with that, we're straight on to our game. So the story for this week is that the Sylvaneth have discovered that the Nighthaunt have overrun and corrupted one of their sacred groves, and Orric Ravenscar, the Knight-Questor, is leading a force of Stormcast Eternals to try and destroy the interlopers. So we have the battle plan, Purge the Whisperwood. You can see the board set up there as usual with the terrain we've got so far. On the Nighthaunt side, we have the 3 Spirit Hosts, obviously, and we've got the Dreadblade Harrow and 15 Chain Rasps. So for the Stormcast Eternals, we have the Night-Questor, 5 Sequitors, 4 Liberators, and the 1 Prosecutor. Deployment in the same territories as we're accustomed to, starting with the Stormcast player deploying units one at a time. The Nighthaunt player has the first turn in the first battle round, and as usual, the game is over when one side has no models left. So it's all very straightforward, and we can get straight into the game. And here we are with our board all set up with the terrain in the usual places on the printed scenery. So having a look at the Stormcast first, we've got a shield wall of Liberators at the front with the Sequitors behind them. On their right flank, the Prosecutor, and on the left, the Knight-Questor. And over to the Nighthaunt side.
Yeah, you've got the Chain Rasps lined up in 2 ranks, the Spirit Hosts next to them, and then the Dreadblade just tucked in just behind.
And the Nighthaunt get the first turn in battle round 1, so we'll be on to the Nighthaunt turn.
In my hero phase I gain a command point, and then the Chain Rasps and the Spirit Hosts are both going to run. So I'll do the Chain Rasps, they get a 5, and the Spirit Hosts get a 1. I'll spend my command point to make that a 6. All the units are going to move up basically as far as they can go, and the Dreadblade Harrow is just going to tuck in behind for now.
There's not going to be any charging or anything, so we're on to the Stormcast turn. In my hero phase I gain command point, and then I've moved like this. Well, just a little bit of explanation, because it's a little bit convoluted. We've got the shield wall of Liberators is still here, closest to the Spirit Hosts. The Sequitors are positioned such that if anybody charges either the Night-Questor or the Liberators on this end, then they will bring the big Stormsmite Great Maces into play. They're also reasonably far back, so that anyone charging them will probably bring other units into play, so it makes it a bit risky. And the Prosecutor's just going to stand at the back, but he's within throwing hammer range of everything. In the shooting phase, the Prosecutor will throw his hammers at the Chain Rasps, because they got a worse save than the Spirit Hosts. So we've got 2 hammers that hit on 4s, we're rerolling 1s. It's a 1 hit, and it wounds on a 4 as well. No, it did not. In the charge phase, I might as well declare a charge with the Liberators. I could have moved them a bit further forward to guarantee the charge, but not bothered if it doesn't go off, but actually if they did manage to charge, it would be quite convenient. They're probably going to need a 10 or an 11, I'll measure it if they actually roll high. No, 4, and I'm not going to spend my command point to reroll that. There's nobody else within range to charge, so that will be the end of my turn. Now we'll be on to the new battle round. We're rolling off for the first turn. I've got a 5.
Well, I got a 5, which means I get to choose, so I will choose to go first. So my movement phase, everyone's going to move up normally. So we've got the Chain Rasps, the Spirit Hosts, and the Dreadblades are going to come out in front, but he's still within 6 inches of the Chain Rasps in case they need to re-roll a charge. We'll be on to the charge phase. So I'm going to start with the Spirit Hosts because they're the important one. They're going to declare a charge. Probably a 5 to get in range of anyone. Getting a 5, so they're going to come around. They're more than 3 inches away from the Sequitors. Next up, the Chain Rasps are going to charge as well. Going to need probably a 6 to get in range of anyone. Ooh, a 12. The Chain Rasps are going to finish their charge like that, in a slightly odd wall formation, because what we really want to do is stop the Sequitors getting through to the Dreadblade Harrow. And this chap here is actually within 3 inches of these 2 Sequitors, so they are going to be engaged, which hopefully means they won't be able to charge next turn. Yeah, and the Dreadblade Harrow is going to charge as well. And he gets a 7, it's easily enough. And the Dreadblade's going to end up charging that Liberator in the flank. He's still within range for command abilities of all my units. Hopefully the Sequitors won't be able to get to him, certainly not all of them.
Then we'll be on to the combat phase. At the start of the combat phase, we do the Sequitors' Etheric Channeling, and they're going to put power to weapons, because they're not likely to be, well, they're not going to be hit by anything this turn. So
I'm going to pick the Spirit Hosts to fight first. Spirit Host on the end, it just has to pile in. So we've got 18 attacks, hitting on 5s and 6s that cause mortal wounds. Only 2 6s and 3 hits, and then wounding on 4s will do ordinary hits, getting another one.
Yes, 1 4 plus save for rolling 1s, because they have shields. That's 2, so with the mortal wounds that makes 3 wounds in total. So we're going to kill this one on the end over here, and then put the wound on the one next to him. I pick the Liberators to fight because they might not be here much longer, and this one, the closest one, has just piled into base contact with the Dreadblade Harrow. And that one will put his attacks on the Dreadblade Harrow, and the other 2 will put their attacks on the Chain Rasps, so they are both within an inch. So we've got 2 attacks on the Dreadblade Harrow, hitting on 3s because he has 5 or more wounds, and Liberators get an extra +1 to hit. 1 hit, and it wounds on a 3. No, it does not. And then on the Chain Rasps, hitting on 4s because they don't have that many wounds. 2, and wounding on 3s, 1 wound.
5 plus save. So I'll kill this Chain Rasp on the end. Then the Dreadblade's going to go. He's got 3 attacks with his Dreadblade, hitting on 3s. They all hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds. It's -1 rend, 2 damage apiece.
Yeah, because he charged. So 5 plus saves for rolling 1s. We've got 1 saved.
And the horse hits on 4s, 2 attacks. Nothing.
1 wound will kill the injured model, and then the wound will transfer to the guy next to him. Then I get to pick, and I will obviously pick the Sequitors. Pile in like this, which gets these front 3 models, including both of the Great Maces in range to hit the Chain Rasps. So the Great Maces, we've got 4 attacks on 3s, re-rolling misses because of they did power to weapons. 2 1s, to re-roll. Oh, well that's 4 hits.
2 6s.
2 of which are 6s, which do D3 hits each. 5 total, so that's 7 hits. These wound on 3s. 4.
5 plus saves for Chain Rasps. Didn't make any of them, so 8 are going to die.
And 1 normal Stormsmite Maul on 3s, and re-rolling both. Still only 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. Yeah, that's a wound.
5 plus. Nope. 9 dead chain rasps. So we've got 5 chain rasps remaining. You get to go next, so you can pile in a bit. But we're going to put all our attacks on the Secretors. We've got 11 attacks hitting on 4s, 7 hits, and wounding on 4s. 3 wounds.
4+ saves, rerolling 1s. Made 2, so 1 wound. We'll wound the one furthest from the action.
In the Battletop phase, I'm going to spend the command points so the chain rasps don't run away.
And I'll use the same to stop any of the Liberators running away, because they did lose 2, because I don't really need the command points for anything else. But that is it for the Nighthaunt turn, on to the Stormcast turn. Again, command point in the hero phase. In the movement phase, I considered retreating with the units, hoping to win the roll-off for the next turn, but you might actually be better off doing this. So the Prosecutor has come over here to be close to the Dreadblade Harrow, and the Knight-Questor has moved around the back of the Secretors, hopefully to make a charge into him as well. The Prosecutor is going to throw some hammers at the chain rasps in the shooting phase, just because any successes will whittle down the number of attacks they get back. 2 attacks on 4s, re-rolling 1s, they both hit, and they wound on 4s. No re-rolling 1s there. In the charge phase, we'll do the Night-Questor first, in case he needs a re-roll. See what he gets. Oh, a 9. No, he doesn't need a re-roll with that. So he'll bring himself all the way down to here, and then the Prosecutor will charge as well. Yeah, he actually rolls 3d6, but he's here now. The second one. Yeah, there you go. 12-inch charge. And he'll charge into the Dreadblade Harrow alongside the Night-Questor. Start the fight phase, we'll declare power to weapons for the Secretors again, because I'm not overly worried about them taking too much damage. We will fight with the Prosecutor first, because the Dreadblade Harrow could conceivably kill him. He has 2 attacks in melee which hit on 3s, but reroll 1s, so we'll reroll that 1. And to hit, 2 hits. Wounding on 3s as well, 1 wound.
4+ save. Made it. So I'm going to pick the chain rasps to go, and they're going to fight these Secretors. 11 attacks hitting on 4s. 7 hits again. Wounding on 4s. 3 wounds again.
And 4+ saves, rerolling 1s. Ugh. Okay, failed 2 already and reroll a 1 into the success. So that is 2 wounds. So the injured man goes down, and then the wound will transfer onto the other normal mace. Do the Liberators next before they die. The one next to the Dreadblade Harrow will attack him, and the other one will attack the Spirit Hosts. So 2 attacks on the Dreadblade hitting on 3s. They both hit thanks to the rule, and then on 3s. 2.
4+ saves. Made on 3rd one. Down to 4 wounds.
And 2 attacks on the Spirit Hosts, which both miss because they don't get +1 to hit against those. So the Dreadblade's down to 4 wounds.
Yeah, I'll do the Dreadblade next. He's going to attack the Prosecutor. Just try and get rid of him. 4 attacks now because he didn't charge. Hitting on 3s. Getting 3 hits. And wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
3 5+ saves. So we've got a 4+ by default. Oh, I made 2, so he takes 1 wound and goes down to 1.
And then the horse gets 2 attacks hitting on 4s. Nothing again. 1 out of 3 again.
We'll attack with the Secretors next. The Prime can't pile in because, well, I piled in a tiny little bit, but basically she can't get in because she's about as close as she can get to that other chain rasp, so nowhere I can pile in will be closer, so we'll just have the 3 attacking. Great Maces, hitting on 3s, re-rolling, so re-roll that 1. 5, so 4 hits, but no 6s. Wounding on 3s, 3.
5+ saves. Didn't make any of them at all.
So that's all, they're all dead because there's only 5 left, that's 6 damage.
And then the Spirit Hosts get to go. Pile in a bit. Make sure he's in. And we put all our attacks onto the Liberators. 18 attacks, hitting on 5. 6s cause mortal wounds.
Oh, that's a lot of
1,
6s.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mortal wounds straight away.
Yeah, there's only 3 wounds left in the unit.
Yeah, and 4 ordinary hits, but it's not going to matter.
There's only 3 wounds left, so they are wiped out with that roll. That just leaves the Night-Questor to go. He'll pile in a smidge and attack the Dreadblade Harrow. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses because he's fighting a hero. Not that he needed it. And wounding on 3s. And 6s are 2 damage. So 3 wounds, 1 of which is 2 damage.
Not 4+ to save the 2 wound one? No. And the other 2 made both. Down to 2 wounds.
But that's the end of the fight phase and the end of the battle round. No need for battle shock tests because the units that would have had to take them just got wiped out in their entirety. So we'll be on to a new one.
Rolling off.
Rolling off for the next battle round. I got a 3.
I got a 6. I'll go first. Yeah, so the Dreadblade Harrow is going to retreat. I'm actually going to run as well, just for the sake of it. Getting an extra 4. So the Dreadblade's going to run very far away. Yeah, Spirit Hosts are going to stay in combat.
So on to the fight phase. At the beginning I would declare the Secretors doing power to weapons because the Spirit Hosts don't do a great number of normal wounds, but the mortal wounds are scary, so the power shields won't help as much.
piling in. I think this is the best we're going to be able to do. So we'll have one Spirit Host on each of the 3 enemy units. So we've got one Spirit Host attacking each of the units, so I'll start with the one fighting the Secretors. 6 attacks hitting on 5, 6 scores mortal wounds. We've got a single hit, wounds on 4. It doesn't. Prosecutor. 3 ordinary hits, wounding on 4s. Getting 2.
4 plus saves. Failing 1, so he dies.
And the last one attacking the Night-Questor. A mortal wound and a hit. It's wounds on a 4. It does.
No rend on it normally though, so 3 plus rerollable save, which I've made. So the Prosecutor is killed, and the Night-Questor is down to 4 wounds. It doesn't really matter which order I do these, so we'll pick the Night-Questor to go first. There's 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 3 hits. Wounding on 3s, 6s are 2 damage, only 2 wounds, normal.
4 plus saves. Made one, failed 1, so I'll put the wound on this one.
And then the Secretors get to go. They've piled in and they can all get their weapons in range. Do the 2 big maces, hitting on 3s, re-rolling fails. Got 1 6 so far, re-roll those misses. Into another hit, so 3 hits, one of which is a 6, which does 2 hits, so that's 4 in total. These wound on 3s, or 3.
4 plus saves. Made 1, failed 2.
Well, 4 damage so far.
Yeah.
5 attacks with normal mauls on 3s, they all hit. And wounding on 3s, 3 wounds.
4 pluses. Made 1, failed 2, so that's 6 damage in total. So those 2 die, and then the last one is on 2 wounds.
They have Bravery 10, so they don't need to take a battle shock test, and we'll be on to the Stormcast turn. The Night-Questor is still in engagement range, just about. I'm not going to retreat, so we'll be straight on to the combat phase. Well, we're going to do power to weapons with the Secretors, and I'll just roll their attacks, because they probably better finish off the Spirit Host. We'll do the big maces on 3s, re-rolling, and 2 6s already. 3 hits, which multiplies into 6 hits, and wounding on 3s. 3.
4 plus saves. Yeah, it's dead.
So that takes care of the last Spirit Host, and it's the end of the battle round.
I got a 6, which means I get to go first.
Yeah, doesn't matter what I roll.
So in my movement phase, the Dreadblade is just going to move up alongside the Secretors, and in the charge phase he's going to charge. 11, that's easily enough to where I want him to go. He's going to finish his charge there.
At the start of the combat phase, I get to declare power to weapons, I think we'll do.
Then we've got 3 attacks with Dreadblade, hitting on 3s. Oh, they all hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds at -1.
It's a random -1, so we've got 5 plus saves. We're rolling 1s. Made 1, so that's 2 damage going through so far.
And can the Horsehead hit anything this game? On a 4. Oh, I got a hit. Then he wounds on a 5. No.
Wounded man dies, and put a wound on the Prime. So we get to pile in like that, and then everybody's going to strike. Great Maces on 3s, re-rolling fails. Re-roll those 1s. 3 hits. Wounding on 3s. Oh, 222, nothing. And then the Prime, 3 attacks on 3s, re-rolling both of those misses. Into hits. Wounding on 3s. She can wound 2.
4 plus saves. Made 1, failed 1. Down to 1 wound.
On the Stormcast turn, I gain a command point, and then the Night-Questor is going to move about 3 inches away. Yeah, so I just don't want to roll double 1. I didn't. Secretors will do power to weapons again, but we'll do the Night-Questor first just to see if he can finish off the Dreadblade. 4 attacks on 3s, re-rolling fails because he's a hero. There's 3 hits in total. Wounds on 3s. Oh, only 1.
4 plus. No.
Oh. So the Dreadblade Harrow is killed, and we have another victory for the Stormcast Eternals. So that will be the end of this game, and we will recap all of that stuff for you now. Well, that was the game from issue 28 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms. How do you think that went?
Well, it certainly went better than the last couple of games. At least my entire army didn't get blown up in one turn. I don't know if there's really all that much to say about this game, really, because it's been similar to every other game I've played against the Night-Questor and Secretors, is that it's too hard to get through the 3 Secretors with shields to get at the Great Maces to actually lower their... The Great Maces do all the damage, and the Night-Questor with his 3 plus 3 roll will just take forever to go down. So I just sort of have to wipe out your units in the charge, otherwise I take too much damage back. And I do think if I'd rolled a little bit better for saves here and there, or you roll those 6s to hit with your Great Maces, I think it might have swung in my favour. But I think that was based on the fact that I got to go first every battle round and basically got to dictate where fights happened and who went where. I think if you ever got a charge off, especially with the Secretors, because it easily destroyed whatever unit you charged at. Although Spirit Hosts are the way around heavily armoured targets, and they're actually a pretty decent unit, actually, I think.
They're a very interesting unit, I guess, because on paper their stats aren't that good. I mean, a unit of 3, you expect, if you get all their attacks, you should get 3 mortal wounds and 3 ordinary hits. They could do much worse than that. I think in their last round of combat they did 1 mortal wound out of 18 attacks, but equally they could do whatever it was, 6 and then a ton of extra hits.
Yeah, there's the potential there. And I think they really need better backup than the Dreadblade Harrow. You need something like the Guardian of Souls that you reroll 1s to hit, so you can fish for those 6s better. With 3 wounds each on a 4+ save, they're actually fairly durable as well.
The fact is, opposing them, they're kind of scary because they're unpredictable. You know they could go right through one of your units if they roll well, and that's a little bit scary. Yeah, I mean, I will say that my units did basically achieve what I wanted them to do. I put the Liberators out the front on purpose. I think they do the least damage. I mean, I guess the Prosecutor doesn't really do that much damage, but I wanted the Liberators to absorb the brunt of the charge, which they did fairly well, to be honest. You did roll an obscene number of mortal wounds with the Spirit Host in their second round of attacks, but fortunately you didn't do that in the first, so I still had some Liberators there. Because I wasn't that bothered about losing Liberators, but I didn't want you to be mortal wounding the Secretors. I wanted to decide where I was going to attack with them, so that paid off. That worked out at least.
It's really still the issue, though, is that the Spirit Host had charged the Secretors and done 6 mortal wounds. It still would have been 2 Great Maces coming back at them.
They took out 9 Chain Rasps. That would have wiped out the Spirit Hosts.
3 Spirit Hosts is probably not worth 3 regular Secretors.
I mean, I think you had 29 wounds of models and I had 25.
Yeah, looking at hard numbers, I only had 4 more wounds than you, but you're much better actually doing wounds than me.
Yeah.
And better at preventing wounds as well. And that's without any trickery like the all-power to weapons or rerolling 1s to saves with shields. So it's not too surprising that you would win in a stand-up fight, which we know by now after seeing a lot of stand-up fights. It doesn't usually go well for the Nighthaunt.
I don't know, we haven't really looked at the points and balancing of this kind of thing properly yet.
It's not really worth it at this point because we're not playing with the full rules.
No, but I still imagine that you wouldn't generally have as many wounds as Stormcast as you did Nighthaunt, unless the Nighthaunt took a super elite army or something.
Even then I think you just can't take that.
So it just seems to be the balancing of the scenarios just continues to be a bit off in favour of the Stormcast, unfortunately.
I suppose if we were playing with the full rules, the Chain Rasps would have gotten a free round of attacks in their first charge, and the Dreadblade at the end of the game would have had a free round of attacks as well.
Yeah, and you'd be ignoring wounds on 6s, which would have kept stuff around a bit longer.
Potentially.
I would also say that, particularly in the last maybe 3 or 4 games, the fact that the game continues to just be a straight-up wipe-each-other-out victory condition rather than even... Well, I think a single objective would...
basically be the same thing.
Basically the same
just
thing.
Be in the middle of the board.
Yeah, but if we had multiple objectives or rolling victory points where you gain them for holding things, it could be a completely different game, because the Nighthaunt, broadly speaking, are a lot faster than the Stormcast, and so if it was down to things like that, it could just add a bit more variety, and it would mean that the balance issues would be less of a problem, I guess, just if you had... Even if you had one mission every now and then that actually favours the Nighthaunt just because of the mission rules rather than models or whatever. But
and I will say just another note about the Spirit Hosts is that they're really easy to paint because it's basically all one colour, because they're basically all spook. But if you thought that the other Nighthaunt units were fragile, these certainly look fragile. I guess they're kind of a bit of a pain to put together because it's kind of hard to tell where exactly they're meant to join onto each other. It's not particularly obvious. Swirly bits glued to other swirly bits.
And they are actually one of the oldest units in the Nighthaunt that we get with the collection, actually, because they existed from the Warhammer Fantasy Battles days. But I think that's it for this episode and this issue, so if you enjoyed this content, please do give it a like and consider subscribing. Continue to let us know your thoughts on these games and how you've played, and particularly tactics for particularly the Nighthaunt, because obviously they're having a bit of a hard time. It'd be useful to know if there's anything that would help them out. Anyway, we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.